Chapter 881, A Wisp of Hope. While looking at Chen Jianxi's simple and honest face, which now appeared slightly unsettled, Hao Lei soothingly said, "Don't worry, Mr. Chen. If the jade ox you brought is one of the zodiac jade carvings we're looking for, we won't take a penny from the $100 million US. Good, good. We'll listen to you then." Chen Jianxi's emotions were finally stabilized and he exhaled a relieved sigh as he walked back after greeting Hao Lei. Just as his bottom sat on the sofa, however, he abruptly bounced up flustered and spoke, "I am sorry. I'm really sorry. And my clothes are too dirty. I can't sit and make your sofa dirty. I am fine sitting on the stool." With that said, he went a few steps to the edge of the sofa, opened the camp stool and sat directly. While looking at his actions, Hao Lei was at a loss whether to laugh or cry. Just as she was about to speak, she suddenly noticed Tang Xiu outside the door. She immediately headed out to greet him and said, "This is the jade ox, boss." Tang Xiu received it and shot a deep look at Chen Jianxi before he observed the jade ox. After his appraisal, he verified that this jade ox was indeed one of the 12 zodiac jade carvings, genuine. "Hold this, Hao Lei." After Tang Xiu handed the jade ox to Hao Lei, he walked to Chen Jianxi's front and said, "Your uncle Chen Jianxi, if my guess is correct, right? I'm Tang Xiu, the buyer of this zodiac jade carving. I've just appraised it and what you brought is indeed the object I need. It's still early in the morning, however, and transferring the money via online banking must wait until daytime." "I know you. You're that amazing divine doctor," said Chen Jianxi excitedly. Do you really want to buy it?" "I do." "It's been said and decided," said Tang Xiu smilingly. Chen Jianxi excitedly said, "Tang. Divine Dr. Tang, $100 million US is too much. You can just give us however much you think enough is fine for us, as long as my son can buy a house and get married and my daughter can finish college." "I can't, Uncle Chen. Tang Xiu, is one who always keeps his word." Tang Xiu shook his head and said, "The promise is $100 million US and absolutely not a penny less must be paid. Let's do it this way, then. You can give me the jade ox first and I'll tell someone to transfer 690 million yuan to your account later. You'll also get some cash for the odds." "But I don't have a bank account." "I only have a checkbook," said Chen Jianxi with some worries while scratching his head. Chen Jianwei at the side pulled him and whispered, "Jianxi brother, the account number is on the checkbook, you know." Tang Xiu produced a wee smile. Then, he asked about the two brothers' bumpy trip today and exchanged pleasantries. They were hungry, so he accompanied them to dine and drink some wine. After that, he personally sent them to the luxury VIP room. Before he left, Tang Xiu ordered someone to measure their bodies to prepare 2 sets of clothes for each of them according to their measurements. Inside the luxury VIP room, Chen Jianwei stepped on the soft carpet and looked up at the crystal lamps that illuminated soft light. He sighed a few times and then went to the bedroom, observed the bathroom, and eventually came to a small balcony. His vision had blurred after seeing too many dazzling things. He then went back to the living room and saw Chen Jianxi sitting on the sofa in silence as he said excitedly, "Brother Jianxi, going with you this time is truly great. The luxury, the grandeur style, everything is just like having a dream in paradise. I really never thought that I could live in this luxurious room all my life." Yet, Chen Jianxi frowned and stayed silent, but his worry was evident on his face. Chen Jianwei finally realized his unusual attitude and quizzically asked, "What happened to you, brother? Divine Dr. Tang took the jade ox away, how do you judge him? Do you think he'll go back on his word?" asked Chen Jianxi hesitantly. Chen Jianwei's expression froze and he mulled hard over it for a long while. With a bit of an unsettled look, he worriedly said, "That's right. Why did he take the jade ox away? We'll get nothing if he's a fraud. Let's go out to find him now." Qin Jianxi grabbed him to hold him back and said hesitantly, let's not find him first and put all the pieces together clearly, shall we? Divine Dr. Tang wouldn't deceive us, I think. What kind of person do you think he is? He's the famous young divine doctor. Many TV stations in the country have reported his deeds. It's just... I still have some concerns in my heart, though. All right, then let's go see him and ask for some money first, said Qin Jiawei with a nod. At least, we don't have to worry about money anymore. You're right, immediately nodded Qin Jian in agreement. 10 minutes later, once the duo had left the VIP room and was looking for Tang Xiu everywhere, Hao Lei appeared before them and handed them a black bag as she smilingly said, this is 500,000 yuan in cash. The small odds up till the total amount will be given to you in cash, whereas the rest will be transferred to your account. You can expect to have the money in your account by tomorrow at noon. 500,000. Chen Jianxi couldn't help but tremble. He quickly received the black bag and pulled its zipper and looked at the stacks of 100 yuan bill that had been put in order inside. He trembled. He had never seen so much money all his life, yet all this money was now his? Suddenly, he seemed to recall something and looked at Qin Jiawei. We've been wrong by suspecting Divine Dr. Tang, brother. He's like the rumors say, a good person, a great kind-hearted man. He doesn't deceive us and he really means what he said. The worries we both had before were truly a mistake. Qin Jiawei also looked at the money and his eyes were nearly bursting out light as he said, yeah, you're right, brother Jianxi. Divine Dr. Tang is truly honest and sincere. He's really a good man. Hao Lei was again at a loss between laughter and tears upon seeing the true feelings of the two brothers revealed. Then she smilingly said, truly, my boss does have good integrity. Besides, the way he looked and treated you is very kind compared to how he sees other distinguished guests who sold the jade carvings to him. If anything, I can now understand why my boss did that, though. It's because he sees that you are honest and simple people. Anyway, you two can go back to have some rest. When the money has been transferred to your account, you can either choose to tour Shanghai for a few days, or you can go home directly. The boss has told me to reimburse all the expenses during your stay here. There were several European-styled buildings deeper in the forested part north of Paradise Manor, one of which was recently built and had just been renovated. It was then taken by the owner, Ouyang Lulu, who officially moved there a few days ago. Basking under the moonlight, Ouyang Lulu was sleeping soundly. Her slight snoring sounds were like the wind blowing outside the window, highlighting the stillness and tranquility of the villa amid the shadows of leaves that fell through the window. The 6 jade carvings, the ox, tiger, dragon, rabbit, monkey, and chicken, were neatly placed on the table next to the bed, exuding a hazy glow under the basking of the moonlight. Tang Xiu was now sitting in front of the table with eyes that were particularly lit up as he observed every zodiac jade carving. He already had made up his mind. He was sure that if he could collect the whole set of 12 jade carvings and was able to figure out some profound meaning of them, and even made his cultivation to progress rapidly in a short time, the time he could ascend wouldn't be too far away. I'll immediately set off to Longquan Bay in Kaunas by the end of the final exam to open that immortal trove. No matter what fortuitous encounter I can obtain there, regardless of everything, I have to go into seclusion to comprehend the heavenly Tao trajectory in these 6 jade carvings. I must comprehend the heavenly Tao laws of this world however difficult it is. Tang Xiu clenched his fist with unprecedented firmness in his eyes. He always wanted to soar and ascend back to the immortal world. He would pay off all the old scores for himself, starting anew and reappearing once again there proudly, overlooking the myriad of living beings in the immortal world. And yet, what he wanted the most was to have his family members and loved ones to accompany him traverse the vast immortal path, especially his mother, who had never cultivated. He must do everything possible to take her with him. Prior to this, there was always a struggling feeling in his heart even though he had been cultivating. It was because he had no other way to successfully bring his mother to the immortal world. But now, he could see a wisp of light, the dawn, and also hope after the appearance of these zodiac carvings. The heavenly art of cosmic genesis was the canonical scripture, the supreme cultivation of the demon realm that even the top demon lords there had been dreaming to obtain. Yet, he cultivated this canonical scripture of the demon's cultivation path. He believed that he would become stronger than ever in the future. But the drawback was that even if he did break the shackles of this plane, he could only leave by himself and couldn't take his relatives with him. But now, even though he cultivated the demon's cultivation path, he would be able to use it for himself as long as he could comprehend the heavenly Tao laws of this world. At that time, needless to say, he could leave this plane and re-enter the immortal world easily, and he would also be able to take all his relatives and subordinates he had been cultivating to leave this world. Even so much that he could bring all the human races of the entire Earth to the immortal world without a problem if he wished to do so. I'll set 2 years of time. I'll even tell Yan and Chime to act to scour every nook and corner of the earth if I can't find the remaining 6 jade carvings within this time. And that is, as long they are still on Earth. As the next day came, per Tang Xiu's order, Hao Lei announced that the 4th jade carving had been found, the jade ox. However, Grand Fortune Jewelry kept the identity of the seller secret as they didn't want to disclose their identity. Through the competing reportage of the journalists, the news broke and proliferated as though growing wings by itself. The massive hype of numerous media helped it once again to be known to everyone in the whole country. The power of the media made it so that the news of Grand Fortune Jewelry spending hundreds of millions of US dollars to buy zodiac jade carvings began to spread all over the world. Moreover, the event was still fermenting and it may not take long before it caused a great sensation all over the globe. A few days later, Tang Xiu comfortably headed out of his exam room. He had taken all the subjects tested and was confident that he could pass what was required, even scoring excellent results. Honk, honk. The sounds of a car's horn suddenly came from outside the exam building, pulling Tang Xiu's attention. "Hey, handsome guy, wanna take a ride with me?" A soft voice carrying the unique sweetness of a woman came from several meters away. Tang Xiu looked at the source of the voice and suddenly felt a bit at a loss whether he had to cry or laugh. It was Mu Weining who stood next to a few million yuan luxurious supercar. She looked gorgeous in her light cyan floral skirt and pink sunglasses that accompanied her loose long black hair, looking at Tang Xiu in front of the car with a beaming smile. Her figure and her appearance simply like a goddess coming out of a picturesque painting. Chapter 882, Raising Price of the Deal. Tang Xiu shifted his gaze from Mu Weining and glanced around. What made him feel at a loss between laughter and tears was that there were many male and female students in the surroundings, even those who just came out of the examination building, that were somewhat out of sort upon seeing her. "Why do you have to be this dazzling, Belle?" muttered Tang Xiu with a wry smile as he walked forward while shaking his head. Mu Weining stood upright with her arms half opened and made a turn in place. Her skirt danced in the wind while her perfume permeated the air as she asked with heartfelt laughter, "Well, why the long face after seeing your girlfriend so dazzling, though?" The beaming smile that Mu Weining wore at the moment attracted Tang Xiu so much so that, despite having a firm mind and being familiar with her, he couldn't help but feel a surge in astonishment. He collected himself quickly and grabbed Mu Weining's delicate wrist to pull her to the car's door. He opened the door, closed it, and then came to sit in the passenger, saying, "Drive." "Gimme a reason," said Mu Weining smilingly. Tang Xiu pointed out what she was referring to and hummed, "You see, the most beautiful side of my girlfriend can only be appreciated by me. No other men are allowed, else I won't feel happy." "Is that good enough of a reason?" Mu Weining sweetly smiled again, while even her bright eyes that reflected that beaming smile were sparkling as though they were drops of clear water. As she started the car, she smilingly asked, "So, where are we heading to?" Tang Xiu gave it a thought and said, "I'll treat you to a great meal since you've dressed up so gorgeously. That reminds me, though. There's a stall that sells delicious barbecue in a nearby alley. Well, that is if you want to have the sky as the roof and use the floor as a table to enjoy the steak well, though. Pfft. Mu Weining couldn't help but laugh, and she rolled her eyes with infinite charm in response at Tang Xiu's suggestion. Then she smilingly said, I'll treat you today to celebrate the end of your freshman semester, though. Let's have a great meal and head to the Arabesque Garden Mansion. Well, looking at your sincerity and good looks, let's go to this Arabesque Garden Mansion then, said Tang Xiu with a smile. With the sweet laughter of the bell, the car gradually drove away. And yet, countless mourning could be heard from those among the crowd. Even some boys sang the Valentine's Day Without a Lover song to vent out their innermost feelings. Arabesque Garden Mansion. It was a famous upscale dining venue in Shanghai, where all the guests who could enjoy the delicious delicacies here were among the haves. The place had been widely recognized as a venue that provided the most delicious meals, though it also came with the most expensive prices. Weining, you seem to be familiar with this place, no? After following Mu Weining into the interior of the Arabesque Garden Mansion, Tang Xiu found that she was rather familiar with the pathways that led into the hall with a plaque signed Emperor's Hall, and he asked with a bit of a surprised expression.
Yeah.
Been here twice before, replied Mu Weining with a chuckle. Words have it that dining here is quite expensive, the most expensive in Shanghai, though. Never thought you wanted to visit this venue, really, commented Tang Xiu smilingly. Not really, I've been here twice, but not to dine, though. Mu Weining shook her head and said, my first time visiting this place was to find my dad a couple of years ago. And the second time was when I came with my best friend, though she happened to bump into her boyfriend here who secretly met with another woman. Tang Xiu laughed and smilingly said, I can tell your best friend kinda ended up feeling very bad, didn't she? Why do you say that, though? Asked Mu Weining. Well, does this good friend of yours have a good temper? Asked Tang Xiu with a smile. Not at all, she's exactly a bomb waiting to go off, grinned Mu Weining wryly. Tang Xiu, do you know why I'm still willing and happy to be with you until now, even if I'm not the only woman for you? Ugh, only then did Tang Xiu feel regretful why he had to talk so much. But the words had been spat out by his long tongue regardless, so he could only brace forward and ask, why is that? With bitterness somewhat concealed in her eyes, Mu Weining said, my love for you comes first, and it's a feeling that can never be replaced with anything. After that comes the issues with society and environment issues. You also know that the status of women has been better after the Reformation and the opening up of our country. But in fact, carved deep into people's bones and inside their blood, there is still that inferiority feeling flowing inside women, whereas men still retain their superiority. Even I am no exception. It is said that women account to occupy half of the sky, and the remark was indeed better than, men are the pillars of the household. Deep down, however, many women still feel weak, and yet they want to have someone to rely on, and thus became the crux of the problem. As a woman myself, I actually am fully aware of how much the environment will affect women. For example, Ouyang Lulu and the famous Kong Xia. The men in the circles we come into contact with cannot be fully imprisoned by the monogamy system. Those powerful men have more than one wife either in Hong Kong, Macau, or Taiwan. Like my dad, he does indeed love and care a lot about my mom, but the love for beauty is carved deep in his bones. That led him to have other women besides my mom. The patriarch of the Ouyang family, that is Ouyang Lulu's father, likewise also has more than one woman, even though Ouyang Lulu's mother is also a very powerful woman whose name I've long heard a long time ago. Yet, that didn't stop Lulu's father from being unable to keep his integrity pure either. Having said that, the bitterness was getting more evident on her face. Tang Xiu took a deep breath and shook his head. If a man does really love a woman, he can give up everything for her and he won't fall in love with another woman. Is that so? Mu Weining couldn't help smiling.
Yeah.
I've seen such a man, said Tang Xiu with a deep voice. You've seen one? Where? Mu Weining was startled and asked in astonishment. Tang Xiu fell into silence. The man he mentioned was actually himself. Even if he had more than one woman at present, he dared say that back when he was in the immortal world, if Shui Qingcheng didn't betray him, he believed that there would never be another woman who could move him beside her. They spent thousands of years getting along well together, understanding each other inside out. Instead of being fed up, bored, or tired with their relationship at that time, he loved that woman more and more as time passed by. It was like old wine, the more it aged, the more mellow and tasty it was. Even the Emperor Jing, who went insane due to his pursuit of love before he ultimately died on the path of that love, didn't hesitate to fight heaven while struggling against the samsara cycle of life and death just to protect his wife for thousands of years. He did all that even if he had to be suppressed by the heavenly Tao laws, devastated by heavenly thunder tribulation, and ravaged by mental demons, and yet, the very one thing that made him persevere was the face of his wife, the name he had been calling out for millenniums before dying. Mu Weining watched Tang Xiu, who fell into silence, and she faintly felt pained inwardly. She could tell that Tang Xiu once had a loved one, even though she couldn't guess what form of existence his love was. She was a smart woman and could be said to have a heart with a seventh sense. Through Tang Xiu's words, she could even tell that the man Tang Xiu mentioned was none other but himself. What exactly has changed him in the end? Mu Weining wanted to find out the answer, but she was afraid to go deeper into the matter seriously. Knock, knock. The door was knocked and pushed open as two young and beautiful waitresses came inside to deliver 2 menus. Tang Xiu was dragged back from his recollection and wiped off the trace of pain and grief in his eyes, before he motioned Mu Weining to order the meal. Dining with gourmet and fine wine made Tang Xiu and Mu Weining tacitly leave out their previous topic and enjoy their food while having a chat. Ring, ring, ring. Tang Xiu took out his handset and saw that it was Hao Lei. His mind immediately moved since it just had been a few days after some people sent him 4 zodiac jade carvings, whereas there was no news about the remaining 6. Was Hao Lei about to give him some good news? What is it, Hao Lei? Hao Lei's tone, however, carried a bit of killing intent within. Boss, we found the whereabouts of the jade rat, but there's quite a problem regarding it. What problem? Tang Xiu knitted his brows. The person who called me was from overseas, and he said that he has the jade rat we're looking for, explained Hao Lei. He sent its photo via the internet and he said that he wants the price increased by at least $500 million if we want to buy his jade rat. Else we'll never collect the whole set of the 12 zodiac jade carvings. Agree with his demand, said Tang Xiu without hesitation. But boss, about this, Hao Lei hastily replied back. These jade carvings are very important objects to me, said Tang Xiu in a deep voice. This concerns an earth-shaking deed I'm going to do in the future. Promise him that we can transfer $500 million to him at any time as long as we get that object. Understood, complied Hao Lei before she hung up. Mu Weining herself had never asked Tang Xiu why he must collect the zodiac jade carvings. After hearing Tang Xiu's words at this time, she finally asked, it's just a jade carving, is it really worth spending that much money? It's worth it because these zodiac jade carvings can never be measured by money in my eyes. Tang Xiu nodded. To tell you the truth, if I can collect the whole set of the 12 zodiac jade carvings, not only will it be of great benefit to me, but also very great for you. What benefits? Asked Mu Weining curiously. I can't tell you for now, Tang Xiu shook his head and said, but please believe me. You'll know sooner or later. Ring, ring, ring. Hao Lei called again. When Tang Xiu picked it up, the anger in her tone was stronger as she spoke aloud. Boss, that man has no goodwill whatsoever. I just agreed the $500 million price he demanded as per your order, but he actually raised the price $300 million more. He now wants to sell it to us for $800 million. Also, he also has a request to transfer $300 million as a down payment to his Swiss bank account. He's looking for death. A chilling light flashed in Tang Xiu's eyes and asked again in a heavy voice, can you trace his location? It's very difficult, but possible, replied Hao Lei. Then let's prepare for both eventualities. Tell him that we'll comply with his request. It's no longer $800 million again this time, but $1 billion, said Tang Xiu. As long as he's willing to sell his jade rat to me, I'll give him that $1 billion. However, tell him that we need some time to raise the money for at least half a month first. We'll transfer half of the money to his account in half a month. Chapter 883, Greedy like a snake that wants to swallow an elephant. Astute brilliance flickered in Tang Xiu's eyes as he said again, the second one is to prepare for the other eventuality. Track the source of his phone call. Be sure to find his position while I go ask someone to help to investigate it as well. I hope our men can find him first if he's on the mainland. Got it. Hao Lei directly hung up after replying briefly. Although Tang Xiu sat calmly at the dining table, deadly intent was ascertained inside his heart. He never liked being coerced or played. The other party was too greedy, and he had secretly made up his mind to make him absolutely regret what he did if he could find him. Is this all necessary for the zodiac carvings, though? Asked Mu Weining curiously after putting down her chopsticks. Tang Xiu nodded.
Yeah.
We already have a lead on the jade rat, but the owner is too greedy, raising the price again and simply broke my bottom line. Mu Weining nodded without speaking anything. She knew that Tang Xiu was someone who was easy to speak with. He would never be so angry if the other party was not that excessive. Beijing. It was a city cast by reinforced concrete, showing a scene of its prosperousness. Located outside the southern Fifth Ring Road was a very special and heavily guarded residential complex with 4 patrol teams, on guard 24 hours a day, as well as various surveillance equipment to monitor every part of the neighborhood, creating a 3-dimensional surveillance network. The center of the block was surrounded by a nearly 3 meters high wall with only a small 3-story building that looked very ordinary. For outsiders, this small building was the complex's property management office, but to the families of the Special Ability Bureau's ability users, this small building was a mysterious place only those elementalists could enter. 4 floors underground. Aqua Babe was fiddling with a satellite phone while pacing back and forth outside the training room. She had just pressed the doorbell, yet there was no response. Duanmu Lin was currently training inside and he hadn't even come out. Hey, Aqua Babe, what are you doing here? Electro Lady leisurely strolled in while carrying a cup of green tea. Her face, however, was rather pale and her black training suit was drenched with her sweat, making it literally being pasted on her body, revealing her hot, alluring stature to the fullest. Tang Xiu just called and asked the chief for something, answered Aqua Babe with a wry smile. I just pressed the doorbell, but there's no response. Girl, don't tell me you forget that he likes to wear a headset while training, eh? Electro Lady smiled and said, anyway, if you wanna let him know that you're looking for him, you gotta press the bell uninterruptedly. Besides, he'll take off the headset every 10 minutes or so. Aqua Babe blanked out for a moment and hastily nodded. At last, the heavy metal door slowly opened and the heavily sweating Duanmu Lin wiped his wet hair with a white towel and asked, what is it? Aqua Babe hurriedly handed over the satellite phone and said, Tang Xiu just called. He wants to speak with you, Chief. He said there's an important thing he needs your help with. Tang Xiu? Duanmu Lin grabbed the phone and saw a number on the screen. He called it back and waited for a few seconds before his call got picked up. Then he spoke, are you looking for me, Tang Xiu? Elder Duanmu, there's something I need your help with. Tell me. Duanmu Lin's expression turned strange the more the conversation went on. Then he interjected, it turns out that the big boss behind the Grand Fortune jewelry is you, and also the culprit who created a babble of criticism and sensation with the billions of US dollars for treasure hunts recently. Huh? What exactly are these zodiac jade carvings? Is it really worth your time to spend such a great deal of effort to look for them? Well, the zodiac jade carving has no effect on ordinary people. There aren't any uses for ability users like you either. But for me, it is no small help, explained Tang Xiu. You must have heard some facts about cultivators, right? The further cultivators like me walk on our cultivation path, the harder it is for us to break through the realm. Therefore, I need the zodiac jade carving for my use. I need to comprehend the profound principles contained within it and strive to break through to the higher realm as soon as possible. Duanmu instantly caught the gist and nodded. I did hear about this fact. All right, I promise you. I'll contact the head of intelligence service immediately. I believe that a person can be found soon as long as he's in our country. But I'll still need to ask permission from the top brass if he's in any foreign country, though. If they approve, I can use the Skynet intelligence system overseas. Thank you, Senior Duanmu. I'll be waiting for your news. Tang Xiu directly hung up after thanking him. Duanmu Lin threw the satellite phone back to Aquababe and quickly issued a series of orders. Macau. Inside one of the presidential suites on the 24th floor of the Conrad Hotel, 5 old men in black robes were sitting in a circle while sinister aura came out of their bodies. At the center of the circle was a 1-meter diameter round table with a fully red, vivid lifelike jade rat placed on it. The redness of the object was as though a surging flame of magma, emitting out a hazy glow. On the sofa against the wall not far away from them was a young man with long white hair nesting lazily, and shaking a crystal cup of red wine in his hand. There were 10 mobile phones on the tea table in front of him, 2 of which had their batteries and mobile cards removed. Young master, will the other party give us $1 billion? A petite yet gorgeous-looking woman looking around 27 was neatly dressed and standing behind the white-haired youth. Her eyes glittered with a thoughtful look on her face as she asked in a soft voice. This zodiac jade carving contains enormous energy. I thought it was one of a kind in this world, but never did I expect that there were 12 of them, said the white-haired youth smilingly. It's highly likely the owner behind the Grand Fortune jewelry has discovered what's contained within these jade carvings, thus, they went so far as to announce such a huge reward to find them. Although I can't tell why he has to find the whole set of these zodiac jade carvings, I'm absolutely sure that it's of great use to this person. They can't find them, so now they are doing everything possible to find them and are preparing the funds for us, said the petite woman softly. Then, what's your next plan? Are you going to Shanghai now to snatch the jade carvings they have obtained? The silver-haired youth hooked his fingers at her and the petite woman immediately walked to him gracefully before she sat beside him, and put her head on his thigh. The youth then stroked her long, soft hair, yet his eyes were particularly detached and unconcerned. Going there now? No hurry. They only have 6 jade carvings now. I need to wait for them to find more before robbing them. But I don't understand why you asked for money from them, though? We are not short on money right now, right? Asked the petite woman. Who says we're not short on money? We are short of cash now, said the youth with a chuckle. I need to equip that mercenary regiment. I already poured down some initial capital, but if I can make $1 billion, then I can solve the financial issues for the time being. Even we can get 2 water defense guided missiles with it. Ring, ring, ring. Suddenly, one of the mobile phones rang. The silver-haired youth grabbed it and looked at the number shown on the screen. He smiled and picked up and said, "What's up? Have you made up your mind, General Manager Hao? $1 billion, but we need some time to prepare it. I'm currently very suspicious that you have no sincerity in cooperating, though." Hao Lei's angry voice came out of the phone. I have no sincerity, eh? The silver-haired youth chuckled and said, whether I mean it or not is not your shit to concern yourself about, no? I have the jade rat you want, so you better listen to me, else I'll disappear with it right away and you'll never be able to collect the 12 zodiac jade carvings for the rest of your life. I give you 3 days of time. If there's no money I can see within this time, I will never contact you again. Wait. Hao Lei called out, our Grand Fortune jewelry is rich, but we just spent quite a lot to purchase 2 big shipments of jade materials, so we don't have that many funds right now. The 3 days you just gave is too short. I need some time to find a way to raise the money. The silver-haired youth was silent for a short while and categorically said, 5 days. I give you 2 more days, do not bargain with me again. If you don't transfer the down payment into my account within 5 days, there's no need to have any deal between us anymore. All right. Hao Lei complied and then said, but I don't trust your words, so I want to see that jade rat and whether it is the one we need. Relax. I'll naturally satisfy your demand since I want this money, sneered the youth. Wait for 10 minutes, I'll stream the video and show it to you. Deal. Hao Lei finished talking and directly hung up. Time passed by and 2 days flashed by in the blink of an eye. Tang Xiu was still in Shanghai, and, aside from the news of the jade rat, he didn't receive other news about the remaining 5 zodiac jade carvings. He even gave up his immediate plan to leave for Longquan Bay in Kaunas for these jade carvings and just waited calmly for any news. He turned down banquet invitations from many people and also put on hold many unimportant issues. He even put his mobile phone away except when Hao Lei was not with him. He kept looking at his mobile phone from time to time, hoping to get the news he wanted quickly. Ring, ring, ring. Just as Tang Xiu felt a bit impatient while waiting for the news, he received a call from Duanmu Lin. After pressing the answer button, he hurriedly asked, how's the investigation on your part, Senior Duanmu? It's coming from the Conrad Hotel in Macau, said Duanmu Lin. No other information is gathered yet, but you can expect it to come soon. Macau? Tang Xiu abruptly got up and quickly put on his coat to rush to the outside. He had found the hiding place of that person and decided to go there in person. The other issues were not as important as this zodiac jade rat, which held much significance. Oh, are there any of our men stationed in Macau? Asked Tang Xiu after leaving Blue Star Villa Complex. I don't know about that, we'll need to ask little boss, answered Mo. Chapter 884, Alerted. After contacting Gu Xiaoxue, only then did Tang Xiu know that the Everlasting Feast Hall had some people stationed in Macau. Accurately speaking, they had just been sent to open a new Everlasting Feast Hall's branch there and the security they had was quite recognizable. Hu Jiwu was the general manager of Macau's Everlasting East Hall, as well as the one in charge for the intelligence network. He was only in his early 30s, yet he was someone who had made substantial footmarks in the mercenary and assassination world. He looked gentle like a weak scholar on the surface, but he was known as a ruthless killer who could kill without batting an eye to those who knew him. Ajin, what's the situation with the medicinal herbs issue? Hu Jiwu was now inside the branch office, looking solemn as he stood before the window while asking with his back against the youth behind him. The youth was 27-something looking, with a monkey-like face which had eyes flickering with intelligence. Upon hearing Hu Jiwu's question, he nodded and said, I've used all the money you gave me as per your instruction, manager. It's just that the precious medicinal herbs are kinda expensive nowadays, so I can only buy a few of them. Hu Jiwu nodded after hearing his answer, however few we have, just give them to me and I'll squeeze some time to send them to Jingmen Island to get some pills, so I can break through to the mid-stage of Foundation establishment earlier. All right, the youth hurriedly nodded. Ring, ring, ring. One of the 2 cell phones on the desktop suddenly rang. Hu Jiwu blanked out for a moment and his countenance immediately changed. He had 2 handsets, one was used as his private number, and the one that was ringing now was a mission call from the Everlasting Feast Hall. Whenever that ringtone sounded, that meant he had an important mission to carry out. After he picked it up, Hu Jiwu said in a deep voice, Hu Jiwu speaking. I'm Tang Xiu. Tang Xiu's voice was coming out from the phone. The moment Hu Jiwu heard the name, his face turned respectful and reverently said, Are you looking for me, boss?
Yeah.
I heard you're in Macau, is that right? If so, there's something I need you to do, said Tang Xiu. Please do tell, boss, replied Hu Jiwu respectfully. Tang Xiu told him the issue and finally concluded in a deep voice, take some men to keep an eye on the situation at Conrad Hotel, and record and report to me about those who check in and out of the hotel. If you find anyone suspicious, keep monitoring them closely. Also, some of our everlasting feast halls people will be coming from headquarters as fast as possible. You should assist them when they arrive while you're monitoring all the various channels of the whole island. Once we recognize their identity, you and they are to target them. Make sure to make them stay put. Understood. I'll arrange it right away. Hu Jiwu could tell the seriousness of the mission and answered with a solemn look. After hanging up, he immediately called the youth and said in a deep voice, Jing, we'll put the medicinal herbs issue on hold for the time being as there's more important thing we must do now. Was the person who just called you the big boss? Asked Jing.
Yeah.
He personally issued the order and we must accomplish it perfectly. Hu Jiwu nodded and said, thus, you are to immediately gather all of our security force. Macau City Port. A passenger liner slowly anchored and, after the passenger had disembarked, Tang Yunda saw a middle-aged man on the coast with 4 bodyguards in black attire protecting him as he quickly approached to greet the man. Anhu. Tang Yunda smiled beamingly and strode fast to greet him. He and the middle-aged man hugged each other. It was the second time for Tang Yunda to meet his comrade in arms after he woke up from his comatose state. You finally came here, Yunda, said Chen Anhu excitedly. I received your call and immediately rushed here. Don't worry, though. I'm coming to solve your problem this time, replied Tang Yunda with a smile. That's the concern I've been worrying about, Yunda. I think I really need you to solve it this time, Chen Anhu let out a bitter smile upon hearing it. The said party I told you about has a big background and is backed by the Zhao family from Beijing who support them with a group of experts from abroad. I really can't hold them much longer. Tang Yunda patted his shoulder and said, I brought a lot of men this time, but they have already come here through other means in order not to be noticed by those people though. All right, shall we go now? I kinda spotted some suspicious people just as I got off the liner nearby. Chen Anhu's complexion slightly changed as he nodded and said, let's. Macau, an hour later at Island Palace Garden in the Tungxia residential block. The district was the most upscale luxurious villa complex in the whole of Macau. Those who could reside here were all wealthy and respectable people. The block had a total of 100 villas and covered a large area with each villa located in an extremely private and secretive location quite far from each other. At Villa A058. Tang Yunda and Chen Anhu were sitting in the study on the second floor, but both of them had a cloudy expression. Right now, even their fragrant scented tea didn't evoke their interest to taste it. Tell me the specific situation here, Anhu. Chen Anhu nodded and said, the Zhang family we are facing against in Macau this time is also one of the giant families who control 60% of casinos in the whole Macau. The Zhangs had been kind of low-key in the past and can be said to be making a big fortune while staying low-profile. They are very different now, however, due to a very proud and talented young man popping out of this family. He's still 28 years old, yet he has replaced his grandfather and became the real decision-maker of the Zhangs. Furthermore, the Zhangs began to reform their industries after he took the helm several years ago. And now, their businesses are not only limited to gambling establishments, but they have also expanded to real estate, jewelry, and the car industry. Rumors have it that the Zhangs even also had several mines in Africa. Tang Yunda narrowed his eyes. It reminded him of his son's ability, which made him unable to look down on this talented and gifted young man from the Zhang family. Since the Zhang family was so powerful, however, this meant the issue couldn't be as simple as it looked on the surface. His coming here was likely to have some other variables and risk factors. So, the Zhangs have the Spirit Shaker Martial School under their control now then? Chen Anhu nodded and said, I've sent some people to investigate it. It's not only the Spirit Shaker Martial School, but even the Black Garb Company is also controlled by the Zhangs. This company is the largest security company in Macau with nearly 1,000 security guards. The investigation also showed that these security guards are not ordinary security guards. Some of them have quite a diverse background. Tang Yunda was silent for a few minutes. After smoking a cigarette, he slowly said, "The two ports have always been our most profitable business and freight shipping is very important here. It's just absolutely impossible for the Zhangs to strong-arm and force us to hand over the ports with their powerful force. We'll see that freakish talent of the Zhang tomorrow. If he's really powerful, then I can only ask for aid from outside." Seeking aid from outside? Chen Anhu was stunned and asked, "What exactly do you mean?" "You know. Find some people to help us, what else?" said Tang Yunda as he forced a smile. Chen Anhu quickly caught the gist and said with a nod, "We would be able to suppress the Zhang if the Tang family acted indeed. I believe they won't dare to oppose your family for those two ports." "No. It's not my family." Tang Yunda shook his head and said, "The person I'm looking for is my son." Chen Anhu was utterly dumbfounded and at a loss whether he had to cry or laugh. "You're looking for help from your son, Yunda? Are you joking with me? He's doing a great job with his business on the mainland, but there's no way his hands have reached Macau, no?" "I know my son very well," said Tang Yunda. "He can solve the problem easily, even if we can't." Chen Anhu shook his head and couldn't help but wryly smile. He had heard of Tang Xiu from Tang Yunda. He had established the magnificent Tang Corporation by virtue of his own hands at a young age. His entire company had been rapidly expanding and catching up with the large enterprises in China at present. And yet, Tang Xiu wouldn't be able to extend his reach to Macau by himself without the aid of the Tang family whatsoever. Late at night at the Conrad Hotel. In the presidential suite on the 24th floor, the silver-haired youth was hugging two blonde foreign girls as they laid on the king-sized bed. Nearby, 5 old men in black robes were sitting cross-legged in meditation around a small round table as though they were monks in meditation. Only, the jade rat that was previously on that table had now disappeared. The petite woman, however, was now standing before the big window, watching the situation around the hotel through the curtains with a telescope. She had been observing for more than 10 minutes and was pretty sure that some people were acting suspiciously. "Kitty, being too excessively suspicious will just tire you out. Preserving your strength is the most important thing about keeping yourself safe. Rather than observing the outside at this time, you might as well go back to your room to cultivate." One of the old men who sat cross-legged suddenly opened his eyes and spoke. The petite woman turned while putting down her telescope. Then she said, "Regardless of how strong I am, there's no way I can fully guarantee the safety of young master if I can't spot danger promptly. Besides, we have you guys here. I may be quite weak, but as long as I can spot danger in advance, I can alert you to prepare a defense in time." The old man in a black robe shook his head. The 5 of them brought this child up and were naturally aware of her nature and thoughts. Even though their young master loved beauties and was often promiscuous, she still loved him and even stubbornly believed that she would become his woman one day. Unfortunately, the 5 of them were perfectly aware that if their young master usurped the power of the Raven clan, he mustn't fall in love with nor marry any woman. "Just go back to your room and rest." The black-robed old man closed his eyes again and slowly said. "No," the petite woman shook her head and said, "There's a situation around the hotel, so I must keep an eye on it." The old man opened his eyes again, frowned. "You said there's a situation nearby the hotel? What is it?" The petite woman said, "I observed the situation around with a telescope a dozen minutes ago, and I spotted some suspicious people. There have been at least 6 people strolling aimlessly and doing nothing near the hotel these last 10 minutes or so. They are like intelligence agents, monitoring all the people in and out of the hotel. Even one of them is hiding in a car, like they're recording something." The old man in a black robe floated up and came to the window quickly. He then looked outside through the curtain slit. His eyes flickered and after he calmly observed for several minutes, he said indifferently, "Go and wake up young master. We'll move immediately." But what young master hates the most is having someone disturbing his sleep. Besides, the target of those people might not be us. Should we wait a bit more? Asked the petite woman. Chapter 885, Clever Rabbits Have 3 Burrows. We just came to Macau and were unfamiliar with the situation here. The old man shook his head indifferently and said, there have been a lot of terrifying figures appearing in Macau ever since this territory returned to China, so we must cut off all the risk factors and promptly move. The petite woman thought about his words before she nodded and came to the master bedroom's door and called out, young master, we need to move now. The silver-haired youth opened his eyes with an angry look as he immediately got out of the bed and dressed himself up. He didn't even glance at the 2 beautiful blondes who slept like a log before he opened the door and then came out asking, what happened? Why we must move late at night? Some suspicious people are strolling around the hotel, though it's not yet clear what their purpose is, said the petite woman. But we should immediately move to a safer place so as to avoid any unforeseen events. I'll contact our men in safe house number 2 as long as you agree with the move. They will immediately prepare to meet you. A chilling light flashed in the youth's eyes as he said coldly, do you suspect them to be Grand Fortune Jewelry's men? If we're not their target, then they shouldn't be from Grand Fortune Jewelry, said the petite woman. But if they are indeed monitoring us, they are either the Grand Fortune Jewelry's people or your big brothers. It's impossible for Grand Fortune Jewelry to have such a powerful intelligence network that can lock onto our position from just a few phone calls, said the white-haired youth with a snort. It seems that good brother of mine is really ready to move. All right, let's move and leave this place. A few minutes later, a group of 7 people left the hotel but didn't exit the normal way. Instead, they quietly headed to a secluded corner of the hotel and directly jumped down from the 24th floor, before disappearing into the back garden. Just half a minute after they left, a ghostly figure silently appeared following the direction of the traces they left. The man's shadow abruptly stopped at the edge of the garden just half a minute later. To be precise, he was blocked by a black mist that was spreading toward the surrounding area. They are from the Dark Shaman clan. Dread filled Hu Jiwu's eyes as he stood atop the towering tree. He didn't continue his pursuit because he was well aware of the function of this black mist. Even if he were to rush through the mist, he would probably lose his direction inside. However, he couldn't give up on the mission assigned by his boss. Hu Jiwu took his mobile phone and activated his chatting app. He quickly issued an order, a Jing, a Tong. They just left the hotel and are heading toward your position. Keep an eye on them and I'll catch up with you right away. They are from the Dark Shaman clan, so keep in touch with me by reporting your position. Got it, the reply was simple. Hu Jiwu hung up and dialed Tang Xiu's cell number. His call was quickly picked up and he immediately spoke before Tang Xiu had spoken yet. Boss, I've got a new situation to report. Tell me. Tang Xiu's voice was heard from the cell phone. We've been monitoring Conrad Hotel as per your order and a group of 7 just left a few minutes again, reported Hu Jiwu. I found their tracks and am kind of obstructed by a black mist. I suspect that they are from the Dark Shaman clan. What clan is this Dark Shaman clan, exactly? Asked Tang Xiu. We have information about the Dark Shaman clan in our Everlasting Feast Hall archives, said Hu Jiwu. They are from Thailand, but their influence has reached all the various other countries in Southeast Asia. This Dark Shaman clan is also known as having a witchcraft lineage, kind of similar to black magic in Europe but not quite the same. The Dark Shaman clan is also one of the top experts in Southeast Asia. Is this Dark Shaman clan very powerful? Asked Tang Xiu in a deep voice. This clan was very powerful some decades ago since they had many people who were proficient in witchcraft. At the peak of their time, however, they provoked powerful enemies, one of which was the world's second-largest organization, the League of Archcrusaders, leading to an earth-shaking war between the two. The latter finally gained victory and nearly annihilated the Dark Shaman clan. This clan should have recovered some of its strength after a few decades, but they have long lost their past glory since. I see, said Tang Xiu lightly. Keep tracking them. You must not lose them. I'll catch up with you in Macau within 2 hours. Understood, said Hu Jiwu with a solemn and respectful tone. 2 hours later, Tang Xiu arrived in Macau along with Mo and the rest. Just as he disembarked from the liner, 2 stalwart men strode to greet him. Boss, saluted the 2 men respectfully. How's the current situation? Where are the dark shaman now? Asked Tang Xiu after nodding at them. They are in a farmhouse in the agritourism area of East Dragon Bank, answered one of them. Captain who already has the place surrounded by our men and is now waiting for you to arrive, boss. Let's go there then, said Tang Xiu. East Dragon Bank, a farmhouse in the fishing village. Inside the dimly lit house, the white-haired youth's face looked frosty and his eyes were full of fierceness. There was no one else behind him but the petite woman and the 5 black-robed old men who were now in silence. Creak. The door was pushed open and a skinny middle-aged man entered and quickly closed the door from the inside. Then he reported in a low voice, "Young lord, we've investigated those people. There are a total 6 of them scattered around the farm cottage area. But I never liked anyone who withholds their speech with fear, you know that? Continue and finish your report," said the youth coldly. Understood, the skinny middle-aged man continued, "but I suspect their number is far more than 6. Also, I can tell that they are experts given their actions and positions. They are at least on par with ordinary martial arts grandmasters." The silver-haired youth's pupils contracted and he interjected incredulously, 6 men who possibly on par with martial art grandmaster level experts? That's just the number on the surface too? Yes. The middle-aged man nodded and said, "They are very fast and very vigilant. I intentionally sent our men to patrol outside, but they can easily avoid them. After the patrol squad I sent left their locations, they then appeared again silently without doing anything." The white-haired youth clenched his fists and he replied in a heavy tone, "That good brother of mine truly sees highly of me, eh? To think that he didn't hesitate to pay so much to seek so many experts for the sake of my inheritance, the true conception of witchcraft. Humph, it's just that he never imagined that I've imparted you with the compendium 8 years ago so that your strength has increased greatly. Let alone 6 experts at the martial art grandmaster level, even if there are 60 of them, you can exterminate all of them here. So what should we do next, young master?" asked the petite woman quickly. "Shall we go out and kill them now?" The white-haired youth was silent for several seconds. The killing intent in his eyes slowly faded away as he shook his head and said, "It's not yet time to tear all decency with him completely. I still need to finish the deal with Grand Fortune Jewelry's people first. At the very least, not until I get a handful of money from them will I deal with these people. Let's just go and leave this place to the 3rd safe house." "Young lord, we still have men outside, what should we do with them?" asked the skinny middle-aged man quickly. The youth narrowed his eyes to look at him and ask, "Do these people you've cultivated outside know your true identity?" "They don't know about it," he shook his head. "Then let them stay here to attract the attention of those people," said the youth coldly. "Do remember. I gave you your life, so you must be absolutely loyal to me. You know the consequences if you lied to me with this issue. I can fully guarantee the people I've trained outside are really unaware of my true identity. They are just the tools I gathered and trained to make money here." "Then lead the way," the white-haired youth nodded. "Please follow me, young lord," said the skinny middle-aged man hastily. Quickly after, the group followed the skinny middle-aged man as they passed through 2 hidden doors inside and entered a room where sundries and rubbish were placed. As a pair of scissors in the rubbish pile slowly rotated, a slit suddenly opened on the dirty wall, becoming wider with time to eventually form a gateway. "Young lord, we'll go down the rope. 5 meters below is an underground passage. We can leave the house and come to the other bank of a hidden river nearby by following this underground passage," whispered the thin middle-aged man. "Go." The white-haired youth motioned to the petite woman. The latter grabbed the rope immediately and went down flying. After a while, the 8 people all went down and the cracked wall slowly merged behind them. There were no clues nor traces that could be seen from the outside whatsoever. Outside the farmhouse, Fujizu never ever had a thought that there would be an underground passage here. He and the dozens of everlasting feast halls experts he brought here didn't notice that some people had left. Time fleeted by and 4 black off-road cars suddenly came from a distance like the wind. After they stopped at the gate of the agritourism area, dozens of stalwart men rushed out of the villa with machetes and sticks in their hands, each looking aggressive and threatening like a tiger. The leader of these elite strongmen looked very threatening as his eyes fixated on Tang Xiu and the rest who got out from the car. "Boss." Hu Jiwu then quickly appeared before Tang Xiu along with a Jing and greeted. "Who are these people?" "Our people inside?" asked Tang Xiu. "We've tracked them all the way here." That group of 7 entered the row of houses in this farm cottage area. "They haven't left this place since we have the whole block surrounded," reported Hu Jiwu. Tang Xiu nodded at him in response and looked at the stalwart leader at the opposite side. Then he said in a deep voice, "Go tell the people inside to come out." The stalwart man vigilantly stared at Tang Xiu and his men, and asked back in a heavy voice, "What do you mean, a people?" "I don't know what you mean."